Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel,
I am Chris.
and this is our first show of 2023. Unfortunately, Chris, you're kind of sick, so you're at home. So far,
I have
away.
COVID.
Yeah,
I don't recommend it.
Yeah,
So
I was about
kids at home, stay home. Don't travel.
I was about to,
Never leave your home. It's not a good idea.
I was about to ask on a scale from 1 to 10, how much would you recommend having COVID-19?
0.
Yeah,
-7.
That's what
it's not good.
Yeah. So this is our weekly live show where we talk about Star Wars lore and comics and theories and other nerdy fandom things like the MCU and Game of Thrones and weird. By the way, I messaged you this earlier. Well, first of all, how was your Christmas? Because we have not seen we've not seen each other. We've not had a show for when was our last? It was like the week before Christmas or the 2 weeks before Christmas.
It was 2 weeks before. Yeah.
So what did Santa bring you? Because I got a 3D printer, so beat that.
I did not get anything that cool. I don't know if it counts as Santa, but my brother infected my whole family with COVID, so that was fun. And I'm still trying to kick that off. So it was not my favorite Christmas.
In years in the future, you probably should refer to your brother as the Santa who brought COVID to your entire family. I think that'd be pretty funny. Well, that's cool. I got to hang out with my in-laws.
That's fun.
That was fine. It was fine. I didn't die. So, I need to bring up my thing here. Where the fuck? Also, if you can hear howling and barking, it's my neighbor's dog Rocket, who waits until I start my live stream before he starts singing the songs of his fucking people.
It's like he knows.
Yeah. So, So welcome to our live show. Today we're doing a little bit of newsy things. There's some Mando season 3 news. We're gonna talk about Ahsoka for like a second. There's a Star Wars mystery game thing happening, which we're gonna talk about. But we're mostly going to be doing the Bad Batch Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2 recap tonight because that premiered earlier today.
There's new Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. And
it might not be our favorite Star Wars, but it's new Star Wars.
It's pretty good. It's fun. Yeah. It's what and I'll talk about this more when we do it, but I sat there, I don't know why it took me a whole season to realize this, but I'm sitting there like halfway through the second episode, like I might not be the audience for this show. I don't think I am who they're trying to impress with this show, which I'm fine with. Not all Star Wars has to belong to me or anything.
Yeah.
Thank you to Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas. He's a dear friend of ours, a supporter of the channel, a great resource for us. He's a great guy. Go check him out. While you're here, click the like button and subscribe. Share the stream. We're on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. We're on all those places, so go follow us wherever you feel like it. After this, 7, we're doing I just realized you're not going to be here for Battlefront at 7.
Nope.
Battlefront 2 with the boys from Gremlin Squad, of course. And then there was like one other thing I think I forgot to write down. I don't think it matters if I forgot to write it down. Yeah. So let's talk about some Star. Oh no, that was the thing. Because I talked about I mentioned other fandoms in the opening there, and I messaged you, and I'm almost positive we're gonna have to do The Last of Us.
Are we?
Yes, and you don't have to. I'll just give it to you, like we did the whole House of the Dragon thing, so you don't have to sign up for HBO. But so I've been watching that gameplay. Have you played either of those games?
A little bit.
I think they're pretty cool. I don't have a PlayStation, so like I haven't, that exclusive wasn't for me, I guess.
Yeah.
But I've been watching some gameplay, and the fact that they've got Pedro Pascal in it, and like the girl from Game of Thrones, that was really good. Like, I think it's the thing we're gonna have to do.
You're not narrowing it down at all with that description.
Remember I made you watch the episode The Long Night.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a little girl with dark hair who gets picked up by
Lady
a giant.
Mormon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's playing Ellie.
Oh cool.
Yeah, she's good, and she's fucking great in Game of Thrones. So Ben says Gremlin Squad Team UK. Oh, you're saying Team UK is better than Gremlin Squad. You're gonna have to take that up with the other guys from Gremlin Squad. They're already jealous enough that I have this like band of British boys that I play with now, like a couple of days a week. Hey, let's get in the news. Let's talk about what Mandalorian season 3.
Yes.
So, I mean, what is that coming out?
2 months from now.
Yeah, which, by the way, you should go check out our YouTube channel. We just released an ultimate recap of Bad Batch season 1. So if you're like, oh, I'm gonna watch season 2, but I just don't want to. I don't want to dick around with season 1. Go watch that. Well, we're gonna do the same thing for Mandalorian.
We wrap up the entire season in the time it takes you to watch one episode.
Yeah. And the next one, by the way, because that video is 35 fucking minutes. The next one will be shorter than that, because it took me like 12 hours of editing. And that isn't necessarily because it was so long or it was so arduous. It's just because like I'm not very good at video editing. That's the first problem.
Yeah.
So either I'll get better at video editing, or all of our videos are just gonna be 5-minute videos. Because
like the second problem is that there's 16 fucking episodes in that season.
Yeah, that's true. On the other side of that, they're like 20 minutes. But to be fair,
Yeah.
I guess Mandalorian's like not that much longer, is it?
I want to say it's like 8 episodes of like
30 minutes?
to 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's true.
Anyway.
Mando season 3, Sheezy says March 1st. Oh, you're talking about Mando, I bet. Yeah, because I think they pushed it back from February, something or other. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Something like that.
Yeah. So Giancarlo Esposito, the famed actor that played Gus Fring in Breaking Bad, plays Moff Gideon in Mandalorian.
He's in The Boys.
Yeah. It plays the corporate dude in The Boys. Is in a Far Cry video or a video game, I think.
Yes.
He's like the bad guy. Yeah. Anyway, he went and talked to a TV Line, which is an online thing, I think. And they're talking about Mandalorian season 3 and how he didn't like show up in the trailer and everything. And so I think he wanted to make sure that everyone knew that he was in it. He was just like, watch it because I'll be in it. And he said, I'll quote here, "You're going to get some Moff Gideon. I mean, I always want more Moff Gideon, so do we. I've got to be honest with you, but you're going to get a good amount of Moff Gideon." That sounded like a Trump quote just now, didn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah, he's more put together than Trump. You always want to see the Phoenix rise from the ashes, or you want to see a nefarious villain rise from the ashes, and believe me, he will. Which I think after... Because that they did like audience testing and shit on the stuff that they've already had, and that in those audience test rooms, everyone's like, "More Moff Gideon, please," because he's fucking awesome.
On the one hand, you have Giancarlo Esposito, who's already a phenomenal actor, and then you have Moff Gideon, who's a pretty darn cool character and a very compelling villain. Yeah. So this is obvious that Disney should make as much use of him as they can.
Yeah, and he's so at the end of. We were just talking about this, I think, on stream last night or something, because someone's like, "Oh, do you think Vader will show up in the Bad Batch?" I know this sounds unrelated. I swear to God, I'm getting there. And I was like, no, because Vader is a lot like Luke, where like if you put him in something, they kind of become a black hole for the narrative. Nothing else matters. And to prove that point, you might forget that Moff Gideon was captured at the end of Mando season 2. Because the only thing that anyone remembers from the end of that is that Luke came in, decimated an entire ship's worth of droids, and took a baby with him, right? Like, I was talking about this last night, how, like, I watched it the first time, and I forgot when I went back and watched it again later that day that there was a whole touching scene between Din Djarin and Grogu where he, like, lifts the helmet up and shit. Like, I forgot that was even there. I was sitting there watching this through, like... tears and snot and all this other bullshit, and then I went back and watched it and I was like, oh yeah. So anyway, he gets captured. He tries to off himself, and then
and like the whole time that Luke is coming in doing his thing, like Gideon is like handcuffed and cowering on the floor or something.
Yeah, I like the moment where he looks at the monitor and he sees who it is and he's like, oh fuck, oh no.
Yeah,
what are we? Just kill me, let me kill myself. Yeah, and then Cara Dune stops him, and we won't be seeing her next season.
Cara Dune went home to her planet. Her people needed her.
You mean Alderaan? That's really rude.
Yeah, sure.
That's really insensitive. You can't just make Alderaanian jokes like that. Hashtag never forget.
It was a Poochie joke.
Oh, I thought you were just making light of genocide.
No, of course not.
What's next?
Let's talk about Ahsoka.
Yeah. That's coming out I feel like there's a ton of shit coming out this year because it's like Mando season 3, Ahsoka is coming out this year. I think Skeleton Crew with Jude Law is later.
I think so. Yeah.
Um, fuck, what is that other one? Acolyte, Star Wars Acolyte.
Oh yeah, that's coming eventually.
I think it's coming this year. I'm almost positive it's coming this year. So I'll look up a list. Shizi says that's a great point about Luke and the ending of season 2. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I remember when that happened, and I texted you, and I was like, "Have you seen it yet?" And you were like, "No," and I was like, "Don't go online. Don't go on Twitter. Don't go online."
Yeah.
Anyway,
a while back, it was reported that Ivana Sakno,
uh-huh.
who's an actress who's in Pacific Rim Uprising, I guess, had been cast for Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
We have rumors now that she is playing a character named Shin, who is, I guess, a dark-sided Force user who's associated with the Night Sisters of Dathomir in some way.
Yeah.
And may be the apprentice of Balon, who's a former Jedi who survived Order 66.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's important to point out, I think, here that this is a rumor.
Yes. None of this is confirmed. This is all internet rumors. It could all be lies.
Yeah. This also comes from a really weird. So this rumor comes from making Star Wars, who's run by a guy who's kind of disgusting and is a terrible human being. But he knows people that work at Disney, so it's like when he puts something out, you kind of have to like look at it at least. But it's important to point out this is just a rumor. Like we don't actually know if this is a thing or not. And I think that this is an interesting. The whole thing about her being associated with another Jedi that survived Order 66, I think, is really interesting. Especially so last night was the part of the Jedi Order playthrough where you like relive Order 66 through Cal Kestis, and we're talking about how last night how like every Star Wars fan has some kind of PTSD about that event because like you like especially if you saw Episode 3 in theaters like I did.
Oh God, yeah.
And like every time it comes up again, it gets worse and worse. Like in Obi-Wan Kenobi, it feels like a school shooting. Like it just gets worse and worse and more terrible and more terrible. So it's like I'm always up for them kind of like delving into that as a source from like a source of crazy trauma for Jedi. The other thing though is like you can't like every Jedi in the universe can't have survived Order 66.
Yeah. So the number of Jedi was never very high.
Yeah.
At
10,000.
It was 10,000.
Yeah, 10,000. Yeah. Which might sound like a ton, but you consider that there are trillions of beings in this universe. It's not that many.
I think there wasn't even a Jedi for every inhabited world of the Republic.
Yeah, nope.
That's how few there were.
Mm-hmm.
And so telling these stories about Jedi who somehow survived Order 66, you have to remember that they're the exceptions. They're the ones that didn't get immediately gunned down by their clone troopers as soon as the order went out.
Rip Candy.
So... yeah.
His wives are probably very sad.
For more reasons than one.
Yeah, they miss his dick.
But the point is, at some point, Lucas is going to have to stop telling stories about Jedi who survived Order 66, or it becomes comical how many managed to get out.
Yeah, I think this is why, like, the next time they go into a film trilogy or another film, it's going to be some other part of the Star Wars era, because they've just about saturated this part of the story with characters and things.
I think so. Yeah. We also didn't really talk about this, but the rumor mentions the Night Sisters of Dathomir specifically, and that's kind of an interesting specific point of lore. You're talking about Fallen Order.
Yeah, we just ran into that. You remember the fucking testicles open and the zombies fall out of them? Like that's the part that happened to me last night. So.
Oh yeah.
Also, that level is really hard for me. I don't know why. Like, I don't know what it is. The Night Brothers always like kick my ass when I do the playthrough.
Yeah, they're jerks.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's next?
So Damon Lindelof's movie is going to start shooting in April. This isn't This isn't like a huge news thing. It's just that. So this is another rumor, right? Yes. And it's mostly plausible to me. The thing that really surprises me is that the rumor for this show just like they started talking about this just a few months ago, and you would think that they would hit a pre-production phase that would last a little bit longer than April, but I feel like April's probably long. Maybe they were in pre-production for longer, and like people just didn't know about it, and it got out. Maybe, or they could have leaked it themselves. Like that's something that's entirely possible for Disney to leak stuff about their own stuff, because it's a different way of stoking media attention on different stuff. So it's like it could totally be that.
I suspect that this has been in pre-production and the writing and conceptual phase for far longer than we've even known about it. It's also conceivable to me that Disney might have leaked it themselves, like you said, to stoke the fires of fan speculation and whatnot, and get everyone excited for it.
Yeah, they know how to use that shit to their advantage.
What's really funny in my mind is that like someone at Disney put on their calendar a date. Okay, if this hasn't leaked by this time, we're gonna leak it ourselves.
Yeah.
just like as part of their media planning and whatnot.
Oh, you know they've got a guy in a room somewhere with a calendar, like very carefully planning out. You know, oh, we'll tweet about Rian Johnson on this one date, and everyone will just be in a fucking frenzy. So the next day we'll announce something. Everyone will be paying attention. Yeah. So yeah, there's nothing else to report on that. Other than, if you're out of the loop, Damon Lindelof's making a show, and he's a really famous showrunner.
I thought it was a movie. I could have sworn
it probably is. No, you're probably right. I closed out the window, so I can't.
It's gone forever.
Yeah,
we can't.
I have no idea.
Sorry.
And I refuse to learn. I refuse to learn what it
was.
Yeah. What's next?
You remember Solo?
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember Ron Howard?
I do. I remember that he's got really big ears.
So I guess there was this Twitter campaign where a bunch of fans were saying, hey, we want to see Solo 2. And they made a whole bunch of noise about it. And then, like, eventually they made enough that someone asked Ron Howard about it. And he said, basically, yeah, no one at Lucasfilm is even thinking about Solo 2. It might happen, but there's no plans right now. So sorry.
Which I think legally he has to say it might happen to avoid breaking any NDAs. So the fact that he said that is inconsequential. I think a word to read from this is that Disney's like, never in 100 years to fucking give it up. We're not doing it.
Well, you never want to say never, because that's going to break people's hearts and turn them away from your brand, right?
Yeah.
Especially when they're asking so passionately for this one specific thing.
Yeah. The thing is that they the actor that they hired to do Han Solo, they signed up for like three more films.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I think they probably were like, that's all right.
That this movie did not do terribly well. So
you can go.
Let's just
you can go. We'll call you if we need you.
Yeah.
Shitzy says you inspired me to fire up a new Fallen Order run through. You should do it on the hardest difficulty if you haven't. That's what made me appreciate that game the most, is actually having to learn how to play it and not just like spam my way through conflicts. And I think the first time I played it, I might have just played it on the story mode where like it's not even hard, just because I'm so famously bad at games like that. Speaking of video games, Ubisoft's, which by the way, Ubisoft is a terrible fun company, and I hope. Oh, I can't say that. I can't say that on a live stream. I hope bad things happen to them. Anyway,
I hope they step on Legos.
Yeah, or at the very least, I hope they get a CEO who doesn't openly promote violence against women and people of color. And and if you think I'm joking about that, go do some fucking research. I think wasn't the Ubisoft guy the one that threatened to have his assistant killed?
I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, this could be literally any video game company. That's how fucking terrible all of them are. So anyway, they hinted at a Star Wars game, some news for a Star Wars game coming later this year. And this is what really made me laugh about the Ubisoft jokes we've been making. The title here is Ubisoft Massive hints at Star Wars game news later this year, game may have live service elements. Because of fucking course it's going to have live service elements, because that's what Ubisoft does. It's like, okay, we have this brilliant IP that millions of people love. How can we milk every fucking cent out of them? We'll do a live service game. And then we'll have microtransactions, and even though we've learned this lesson so many fucking times and it killed another game that Star Wars had.
I was gonna say it worked for Battlefront 2.
Yeah, but you know what? Despite the fact that we know what happens when this happens, we're gonna do it anyway and see if they don't notice, and then we're gonna notice, and then the game's gonna fall straight on its fucking face, and then we'll be back at square one for Star Wars games. Moral of the story here, kids, fuck Ubisoft.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess this all came from a tweet from a developer.
No, it was a tweet from Ubisoft themselves, and they just had like the Star Wars logo right up there.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Ubisoft Massive, yeah. Also, another thing to kind of be careful about here is that remember that Star Wars Eclipse had a fucking beautiful trailer, and that game might not be coming for another 20 years.
It might never come out.
Yeah. Shizzy says, the fact that the threshold is so low for leadership, please don't be racist, misogynistic, or a general piece of shit. Yeah. There's this is a good time for me to mention because you guys know, like, we don't have sponsors or anything, like, so when I say that I like something, I'm just saying it because I like it, right? There's a great YouTube channel, there's a great YouTube content creator called Jim Stephanie Sterling, who does these weekly fucking roasts of the video game industry and bringing to light all the crazy, terrible shit that they do and how toxic and fucking terrible that culture is and that industry is. Go sub to their channel, and they also do fucking professional wrestling in the UK.
Hell yeah!
Like, it's so weird. Like, it's just the videos are great. It's fucking awesome. All right, so as you know, today is January 4th. It was the beginning of the Bad Batch Season 2, the I don't know, kind of anticipated Star Wars show to come out this year.
It is a Star Wars show that exists.
Yeah, it exists, and we watched it. And you know what? It wasn't that bad. We're going to talk about it. Yeah. We're going to talk about it. But before we get there, make sure you like this video, share it, give us a comment, tell us what you thought of the show. Tell us if you liked it or if you didn't. And if you didn't like it, have a good fucking reason. Don't give me this woke is broke bullshit. So, yeah, we watched it. Before we get into it, do you want to do any spoiler-free thoughts? Because I'll tell you mine, since you asked.
Okay, go ahead.
The animation to me seemed sleeker, which I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they might be putting a little bit more money in there. It was more or less the same as it was the last season. And at the top of the show, we were talking about how, like, I got through the second episode, and it took me an episode plus 2, or an entire season plus 2 episodes to realize that this show was not written for me. Like, I'm not the demographic for this show.
It's a kids show, Daniel.
Yeah, so like I have to, but
like
now hold on.
Okay.
There are people who will argue there that Clone Wars and Rebels is also a kids show, but has some massively amazing Star Wars moments in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look, if you're on that side of the coin, you've got a point. Like, you know, there's shit in those shows that kind of blew my mind and everything. That hasn't happened yet in Bad Batch, but like Clone Wars and Rebels was centered around a completely different part of the Star Wars universe. Like, it was about lightsabers and Jedi and the Force and all this other shit. Bad Batch exists as a foil to that, where like that's not what they're even though I'm pretty sure they're going to get into some of the, like, some pretty crazy Snoke shit. Which isn't a spoiler. That didn't come up in any of the episodes we watched today, but it's just a theory that I have. So like, it's, you know, this show is for people who maybe, like, when they didn't see Luke Skywalker at the end of Mando season 2, didn't freak out and immediately like jizz their pants, but are still Star Wars fans. Like, this is probably for them, which isn't me, but I still kind of enjoyed watching it. I think the music's pretty good too.
Yeah, it is like George Lucas's platonic ideal of Star Wars being entertainment for children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what this is. It's a kids show.
Mm-hmm.
I really do like the armor redesigns they put on the Bad Batch, where they like scrubbed off most of the black and red and replaced it with like these teals and oranges.
Yeah, like Omega went to Hobby Lobby and got some acrylic paint and like
yeah. She has grown up from being approximately 8 or 9 to being approximately like 10 or 11.
Which I cannot tell a difference between those ages, by the way.
No, she has
She looks older.
definitely
Her
aged
hair's
a little bit.
her hair's a little bit longer, and she's taller. And I
I
think the
guess
voice actor isn't like her voice isn't as high.
Yeah. Anytime I watch a show that centers around clone troopers, I always have to marvel at what an incredibly good voice actor D. Bradley Baker is.
Oh hell yeah, that
Like
dude's
holy
crazy.
he voices like 90% of the characters
Yeah.
in these shows, and every single one of them sounds different.
Yeah, he
Which
does.
is incredible.
And you know what? This isn't even like the only. It's not even the only show that he does. Like he's not just a Star Wars actor. Like he does other like crazy, really good things everywhere else. I totally
Yeah.
agree with you. I think it's hilarious. I'm like sitting there watching a scene. And it's like, this is all one dude.
Yeah.
Like this is all one dude just talking to himself. And then like in the first episode where it's like the Bad Batch, and then a bunch of clones that are working for the Empire, and it's like there are like 40 people on screen right now. They're all voiced by exactly the same person. It's insane. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to the end of Bad Batch. They do like the series finale, and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Omega was also voiced by Baker as well."
Yeah, I just gave him a voice changer.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about what happened. We're gonna spoil it. So if you've not seen it yet, I'm gonna put a spoiler warning up on the screen for you. If you've not seen it yet, and you care about spoilers, to turn away, go watch it, come back. If you don't care about spoilers, if you've watched it, feel free to put in the chat what you thought of it and your general thoughts. Try to prove to the world that you're you're suddenly a show critic, and you know things about writing and all this other shit like we pretend to know.
All right.
Episode 1.
Spoils of War. So we open on this very pretty tropical island. It was in all the trailers. You've seen this before. Echo, Wrecker, and Hunter are like burst out of the jungle and come running down the beach carrying this crate.
Oh shit.
What?
What? Did you freeze?
Oh, no.
I was voicing.
No.
No. That was their.
Okay,
That's their reaction. Yeah. See,
Yeah,
this is why we shouldn't do remote shows, because I don't know if anyone can no one cares about this, but you can't actually see me right now because my computer doesn't let me use my camera in 2 different spots, and I can't really see you either. So like when we I don't know, we have to use the Force and figure.
Yeah,
it out.
I thought something broke. Anyway,
also, I'm definitely gonna cut this from the video when it goes up on YouTube.
So a whole bunch of giant crabs burst out of the jungle and come running after them as well. So it's just chaos down at the beach.
Yeah, the Bad Batch has crabs.
Yeah,
it's bad.
So back at the ship, Omega is like studying her like fucking iPad that's been loaded up with like the specifications of every single ship the Empire uses.
She's like on that educational YouTube channel. It's like, here's your guide to all, or it's like fucking Star Wars Explained, where it's a video of all the fucking shuttles. Yeah.
So she's like studying this, and finally she gets bored and like lays back and looks up at the clouds for a second. And at that exact moment, Tech sticks his head out of the ship and says, "You're slacking off, are you?"
Yeah, he was. You know that motherfucker was just sitting there, like he was just sitting there waiting for her to look away from that screen.
So Hunter says, "Hey, there's a bunch of crabs chasing us. Can you guys come pick us up?" And Tech's like, "Yes. Let me just start the engine." And oh god, there's crabs.
Yeah,
there's crabs on top of the ship.
Let me start the engine.
The rocks.
Let me start the engine, and hopefully Omega doesn't have a fishing line into the lake and has hooked a crab, and everything will. As long as those things haven't happened, everything will be fine.
Everything is crabs.
Yes,
it's just all crabs all the time.
Yeah.
Omega like slips down her fishing line and like has to beat up a couple crabs and has to shoot them with her weird energy bow. But she gets like picked back up on the line, and Tech manages to get them up in the air and flies down. She sends the zip line down, and the Hunter and the rest climb on the crate and ride it up, and it's just it's pandemonium, but it's. If you enjoy shooting crabs, it was
it's just like having crabs. Like they're really hard to get rid of, and they can ruin your fucking life. Not that I would know, so I've heard.
So back on Ord Mantell, AZ. You remember Omega's droid AZ?
Yeah, we last saw AZ in the last season do a little sacrifice for the team.
Yeah.
And then Omega did a little sacrifice for AZ, and then Crosshair did a little sacrifice for Omega, and then everyone lived.
It was not a sacrifice. He actually saved them.
He's like, I'm not going to sacrifice. I got a fucking grappling hook gun.
Crosshair does not do sacrifice.
I'll be fine.
Anyway, so AZ is apparently working at Sid's bar. Like he's a waiter now. He floats around and gets people drinks.
Why not?
So they take the crate to the back room where Sid is having a meeting with Wanda Sykes.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude! Like I immediately grabbed my phone and just Googled Bad Batch, and I got to W, and the autofill went Wanda Sykes, and I was like, fucking knew it. Fucking knew that was Wanda Sykes. Famed comedian and actor. She's fucking hilarious. A queer person of color in Star Wars that people wouldn't even know to bitch about unless they went and looked Wanda Sykes up, giving a fucking great a great performance in a scene where she says like what 8 or 9 words. Yeah,
just about. So apparently Sid told Wanda Sykes about the Bad Batch and how they're the renegade clones on the run from the Empire, and the Bad Batch get kind of twitchy about this because they're like, well, we're trying to hide out and not let anyone know we're here. Wanda Sykes is like, relax. I'm gonna take this crate, and by the way, Sid, that shit I told you about that job, you better fucking pay me when they come through. And Hunter's like, what job is she talking about? And
Go on.
Sid's like, well, Count Dooku, he was a count on the planet Sereno. He had this massive bank, this war chest that he was using to fund the separatists and the war effort. So you all are going to go steal some of that money for us. And Hunter's like, the Empire's already there. Fuck no, we're not going anywhere.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Why would you ever say that?
So later, out at the bar, Hunter is quizzing Omega about her shuttles and shit, while Sid is talking to the others. Sid has convinced the others that, they should take the Sereno job because it's going to make everybody rich. Hunter is like, no, we really, really shouldn't do this. Like, the Empire's going to come after us. It's a bad idea. Sid tells him, like, look, you want to fucking disappear? This job can get you the money to completely disappear. Like, you can just, you can retire and kick back on a beach for the rest of your life. There won't even be any crabs there.
Yeah, it's fuck off money. Yeah.
So Hunter glances over at Omega and is like, you know what? If we do this, she can actually go to school and not have to study TIE fighters all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should probably do this. So they're on the ship. They're hyperspacing over there. Echo's like, yeah, Hunter, I know why you're taking this, but if we have that much money, we could fight the Empire. We could give it to the rebellion and they could do some good stuff with it.
We can go to Tahiti. Everything will be fine. A little Red Redemption, Red Dead Redemption. What is that part 2 joke that no one will get?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, no, that's Hunter's idea. He wants to take the money and fuck off. Echo thinks that they can use it to fight the Empire.
Right. Yeah.
And help people in need.
That's kind of a new character thing that they brought in for him, because I don't feel like, were there any instances in season 1 where Echo was really gunning to do the let's fight the Empire thing, even after they met Rex?
Not super much, but if I remember right,
Sheezy got my fucking Red Dead Redemption 2 reference.
Yeah.
Thanks.
If I remember right, Echo is fairly close to Rex, right?
Yeah.
And
I think so.
He was a regular clone, so he would, in my mind at least, he would be a little bit more on board with the regular clone pro-Republic agenda.
Yeah.
Whereas the others are kind of these deviant, but not in the sense of being
they're kind of out for their they're kind of out for their own.
Yeah. Anyway, so they have this little argument about it, and Hunter's trying to get him to shut up because Omega's sleeping. But unbeknownst to them, Omega hears the whole thing, and she starts it starts percolating in her brain.
Yeah, we gotta have a little bit of conflict in this episode, so of course she overheard them.
Yeah. So they arrive at Sereno and they park outside of town, and they are hiking through the woods. They get to the city, the capital of Sereno or whatever. And it's just a fucking wreck. There's giant trenches worn in it. Apparently the Empire just fucking orbital bombardmented the shit out of this place.
They Camino'd it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except unlike Camino, there wasn't a giant ocean for everything to sink into. So now it's just, craters everywhere. So the Empire is hauling Dooku's war chest out. They separated up into these 3 big freighters. There's at the base where they're separating this out, there's a bunch of clone troopers, and they have V-wing fighters to escort the freighters. So
which is their indication that it's really high value material.
Yes.
Because it's protocol that they have ships, escort ships or whatever.
So Hunter sneaks around and starts planting bombs to set up distractions.
Because of course he does. That's his thing.
Because if anything goes wrong, they want to be able to distract the clone troopers and make a getaway. while the others are going to sneak down to the last of the third freighter, and they're going to steal some stuff to load up on their ship and take with them. So they're sneaking around. They're digging through the cargo bay for stuff while Hunter's planting his bombs on the V-wing fighters. Wrecker is like keeping lookout for the rest of the guys, and a patrolling clone walks a little bit too close, and Wrecker stuns him, which, you know, solves the immediate problem, but eventually someone's going to come looking for that clone, and that's going to raise an alarm.
Out of the things that we can say about Wrecker, on that list wouldn't be thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead.
He does not think ahead. No.
However, that I thought it was really funny when he stuns him. The dude just falls on his head against the ship.
Yeah,
and it just like and they just like kind of grab him, and I thought it was pretty funny.
He has a helmet; he'll be fine. Yeah. So they're on the clock here.
I like. By the way, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that was an interesting distinction I thought they made all through the first 2 episodes, where when they're getting shot at, it's live ammunition, right?
Yes.
But when they are shooting other people, they're only stunning. Did you notice that?
Yes, they've been doing the same thing the entirety of the first season.
Oh, I didn't. I guess I didn't note it then, or like, maybe I didn't care enough about it. I don't know.
Yeah, like the Bad Batch will shoot like live shots at like droids and stuff, but whenever they're shooting people, they always stun.
I guess Wrecker was literally shooting a homemade tank cannon at people in the next one.
Spoilers! We're not there yet.
We'll get there.
Anyway. So they're on the clock. They start digging through cargo boxes and trying to figure out where the really valuable stuff is. That patrolling soldier gets called up, and they know, and the clones know that he's missing now. So the alarm is going up.
Yeah.
Hunter's like, well, shit, time for a distraction, and he sets off his bombs. Wrecker starts back towards their ship with the first crate, but before anyone can do anything else, the clone commander's like, okay, we're under attack. They clearly have here for the war chest. Just fucking get the freighters in the air, get them out of here.
Do you think, by the way, that they could have just walked into there and like walked up to the clone commander and been like, look, bro, can we just have some of this shit? And then like the guy's like, you know what? Yeah.
No,
go ahead.
I don't think that would have worked.
I think it would have made for a shitty fucking Star Wars episode, but I think that would be fucking hilarious. They just like walk up and like, we're going to take this. Yeah, we get it.
I mean, like, you know, you're Clone Force 99. Yeah. I guess.
Even if they didn't know who they were, they're like, they're never going to miss that bullshit. It's fine.
So now Hunter and Wrecker are like, they meet up and they're like, well, shit, the others are still on the ship. We need to go get them. So they start attacking and like they're stunning the fuck out of all the troopers. And they climb onto the outside of this ship, which is taking off. But they're like, well, shit, we're not going to be able to get inside this way. Let's just jump off onto Dooku's palace.
Mm-hmm.
So they do.
Because nothing bad has ever happened in Dooku's palace. Let's go hang out
Absolutely not. So Tech figures out that, okay, if we get into the main ship, we can find an escape pod and we can just take that and ride it down to the surface and everything will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
In the palace, Hunter and Wrecker make it to Dooku's office, which like the big dramatic window behind him has been shattered in a few places, and there's like birds hanging out everywhere now.
Just shitting everywhere. Bird shit just everywhere.
But the clone troopers catch up with them, and they get pinned down behind the desk. Tech and people are on the ship, and they're sneaking around, but they get found, and the transport pilot's like, well, shit, they're like, the only way off is the escape pods. Let's fucking fire those bitches off right now. Now they can't get out. They're trapped.
Yep.
Omega is like, wait a second. This is a Type 4 freighter. That means the cargo pods have orbital re-entry jets. If we just get on one of those, we can ride it down to the surface. You know, stay in school, kids. Study your iPads.
It's just really funny. Like, they got really lucky it wasn't a Type 3 fucking transport. Otherwise, they would have been fucked.
They got lucky that it was a type of ship that Omega had actually studied. So anyway, Hunter is looking around and realizes that, hey, wait, there's an elevator built into the floor behind the desk here. If I can just, type some things on Dooku's computer, we can, get out of here. He's really not good with computers, though, because he usually has Tech to do these things for him. So he's just like hunt and pecking.
He's like my father-in-law trying to figure out his iPhone, where he's got like his glasses down, he's looking at it, and he's like,
yeah.
What the fuck is this?
He is everybody's bad with tech relative.
Yeah.
So like the lift moves like half a foot, and then like the troopers are shooting up the desk so the computer breaks, and Wrecker's like, well, fuck this, I'm just gonna stomp on it a few times, and the elevator gets moving and they fall into the abyss. So on board the ship, Tech, Echo, and Omega make it down to the cargo compartment, and Tech is like, all right, Cool. So we're inside this cargo compartment that has, re-entry jets. I'm gonna release the cargo here, and we all start falling. And by the way, Omega, when are those re-entry jets gonna kick in? Omega's like, they should be kicking in any second now.
They might kick in soon.
Hopefully.
they might. What?
And cliffhanger or roll credits.
Yeah.
That's the end of the first episode.
Yeah, and then I realized, oh, this is why they released 2 episodes on the first day, because they're the same fucking episode. They just broke it up. So instead of having a great 40-minute episode where you can sit down, have a fucking drink, watch a good episode, of course, it's got to be 20-minute episodes. So this is episode 2, Ruins of War. And like we pick up right here on Sereno, right? Where it's like raining war chests and cargo containers, and Tech, Echo, and Omega are inside. And as you just mentioned, I didn't consider that we'd be handing it off like this. I should have. In my notes I should have just left this out because he literally just said all that. So the onboard thrusters don't fire; they're all going to be dead, right? So the thrusters kick in, and which, by the way, the sudden deacceleration somehow doesn't kill them, which it absolutely would have. But it's it's a cartoon. That's fine.
Physics work differently.
Yeah. So Tech's like, well, we can't steer or land, but we're not dead yet, so hooray.
Could be worse.
Yeah, we're doing great, kids. We're doing great. So back at Count Decapited's Palace of Creepy Things, Wrecker and Hunter are trying to find a way out, but the Imperials have all the doors covered. So their plan is to rappel off the side of the building and sneak into the ruins of an old city, and then they'll go to their ship, right? Hunter gets a phone call from Tech. And Tech's like, so there's good news and bad news. We're crashing. And Hunter's like, that sounds mostly like bad news. And he's like, well, that's the kind of fucking day it is today. Remember that 3 hours ago it was crabs. What did you expect? The containers land in like a precarious position on a cliff. It's like half on, half off. So they need to get out of the container because the Empire wants their goodies back. So they're gonna go out and search, and eventually they're gonna find it. So they need to get out of the container and lay low. So that's their plan. Except that the container decides to fall off the cliff, and it lands. So like as it's crashing, like a big box lands on Tech's leg and breaks it. And he he's a complete nerd about it. He's like, well, actually, it's my femur, and it broke in blah 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 blah, and pushes up the glasses and.
He fucking calculated the exact 150
Newtonian force,
kilograms of force or whatever fell on my femur and fractured it.
Nerd.
Which, by the way, the femur is one of the hardest bones in your body. So if that gets fractured, that's a big fucking deal.
Yeah. Also, the mortality rate of femur fractures is much higher than you would think. So I don't even know how I know that. Anyway, the container is somehow still on the cliff face, and it's not on the ground, but it isn't falling anymore. So everything is kind of okay for now. Captain Wilco, who is the lead clone for the Imperials. Because the Empire is still using clones.
Here they are, yeah. So it was a major plot point in season 1 that they were transitioning away from clones to just regular stormtroopers, but they hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah. So
a lot of places like this, I imagine they're using clones as a stopgap before they can get enough stormtroopers in place to take over.
Right. Yeah. So Captain Wilco and his boys find evidence of Hunter and Wrecker's escape. They find his little grappling hook rappelling thing, and they think that at first they assume that the crew in the containers probably died, but Wilco wants to see their cold dead bodies. He's like, bring him to me. I want to look at him just for a couple of minutes. And so Omega, Tech, and Echo escape from the container. And Tech and Echo want to find a place to hide until the Marauder comes and picks them up, which is totally makes sense. Omega is like, how about we go back and get some shiny things from the container, so this wasn't just a huge fucking waste of time. And they're like, shut the fuck up, kid. Do what
goddamn materialist 12-year-old.
Yeah, dude, do what you're told, young lady. So they fuck off into the forest. Hunter and Wrecker make it through. So I guess the way that this is, they have the Count Dooku's palace, which is situated at the end of this city, right? Yeah. That they and they bombed everything. They bombed the palace and everything. And there are tons of clones that are like setting up a perimeter. They're clones everywhere. They're like fucking crabs.
Yeah.
And so they know the Empire's monitoring comms. So they call the other squad up and they like send them a coded message, which is pretty much like the shut the fuck up and stay off the radio.
Yeah,
but
don't
in
use
code.
the phone.
Yeah. So Omega notices this random old guy sneaking around in a bush, right? And so they corner him, and Omega is like holding him at bow point. She's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And he's like, I live here, you little shit. What the fuck are you doing here?" And Echo's like, "You could be working for the Empire." And the old guy's like, "I'm just going to point this out, but you're literally wearing clone fucking armor, so maybe you're working for the Empire." And Tech's like, "My leg is fucking broken. Take us to your house that I just picked up on my fucking tricorder, or I'll break your fucking hip." And he's like, "All right. I have no other choice." The Empire has removed, like they've recovered half the containers. The other half, they don't know where the fuck they are. But they've got like the Apple AirTags on them, so they know where to find them.
Yeah.
They intercepted the coded like "shut the fuck up" on the radio's message, so they know that like everyone survived. They know that they're like split into two teams, and they start their sweep to find Hunter and Wrecker. Which, by the way, it's pretty hinted at throughout that Captain Wilco is like slowly putting together that this is Clone Force 99, right?
Yeah.
Hunter and Wrecker watch the patrols, and they try to figure out a way to evade them. And for some reason, the plot demands Wrecker is out of bombs, which never happens. The dude carries bombs in his underwear.
The worst day of his life.
Yeah.
Like
bombs are a part of his religion, so like there's no way he wouldn't have bombs. And then they kind of notice there are some damaged droid tanks from a previous battle. So meanwhile, the old man leads Team B to his like little house, and the old man's like, "So let me think about that. Your rogue clones running from the not rogue clones who are part of the Empire, but previously all of you were clones for the Republic. Like, do you understand how fucking ridiculous that sounds?" And Tech's like, "Okay, but my femur is fractured. Do you have any fucking Vicodin?" And Omega is like, "Why is your house so shitty and like in the middle of nowhere?" And the old man's like, "You guys, first of all, are fucking terrible. Second of all, the Empire showed up and we did our best. And this is my best after the Empire, is this little hut out in the middle of the fucking forest. What are you going to do?" So Omega's like, "Okay, that makes sense. So we need to go back to the container and steal some loot so we can finish the mission." And the old guy is like, "All right, look, from where I'm sitting, you guys sound a lot like the Empire with your looting things that aren't yours bullshit." And Omega's like, I mean, we're stealing from the Empire, and we have good use for it. You know, we're the good guys." And the old guy's like, "Okay, listen here, fucking Gen Z. You're stealing it from the Empire. The Empire is stealing it from Count Decapitated. Count Decapitated stole it. Well, he stole some of it from other worlds he plundered, but it mostly came from the people here on Sereno." And Omega's like, "Fine, we'll split 50-50. I'm not going any fucking lower than 50-50 though." And the old guy's like, "Fuck that. Like, let them have their blood money. Now, excuse me, I need to go to my basement and be unsupervised and do some work," in quotes. And Tech's like, "Okay, go fucking watch him." And she's like, "Ew," but okay. So Captain Wilco sneaks up on Hunter and Wrecker. It's nighttime now, right? The sun's down, everything's dark, and he's watching him with his fucking binoculars. And their plan is to sneak up on him or whatever. And it turns out that the droid tanks that they found, much to Wrecker's fucking disappointment, aren't operational, which means that he's not going to be just flying around in a tank blowing shit up.
Which would be the best day of his life.
And then his fucking erection stops, and he was very disappointed. Omega and the old guy have this conversation in his basement, I think, or in his hidey hole. I don't know. He gives her
workshop.
Yeah, he gives her like a space kaleidoscope, and she like looks through it, and she's like, "Is this treasure?" and like he's like, "No, it's because she's a kid and should be playing with kids her age, but she's not. So like she has no idea what the fuck anything is. She's probably never had a toy in her life except for that like little stuffed thing that she has." And the old guy's like, it's just a fucking toy. Jesus, like it's supposed to make you happy. Not everything is about loot.
He's like, "You're the saddest fucking child in the world. Like, what is wrong with you that you don't know what a kaleidoscope is?
Who hurt you?" Megan's like, "You motherfucker, you have no idea."
No idea.
So Omega overhears Tech and Echo complaining about their situation. Tech wants the money. Like he's like, we could fuck off with this and go to Barbados. And Echo wants to fight the Empire. All of a sudden, he's like, we got to help. I have a feeling that Echo has this notion in his mind after hanging out with Rex about the rebellion. I think that's where that's going.
Yeah.
So Echo fucks off to check for patrols. He's like kind of grumpy.
Mm-hmm.
Tech helps the old man fix like this old hard drive thing that he has with his people's history and music and shit on it. Omega notices the old man's rappelling line, which is just a rope, and decides to take like she's like, I'll fucking get the loot myself.
Yeah, take the rope and let's go.
None of the lessons the adults were trying to teach me in this episode matter. I'm going to do what I want because I'm a fucking kid, and that's what kids do. So the clones have caught up with Wrecker and Hunter. Wrecker like MacGyver's some tank components into a minigun, which is actually really cool. And he's like there's incoming air support, and he shoots those motherfuckers right out of the air, and like he blasts some clones with it. And there's this fucking great shot of one of the stormtroopers looking out with his binoculars, and Wrecker comes like out through the smoke with this big fucking gun, and then like he immediately dies. So they escape. Tech fixes the hard drive and makes the old man really happy. Like he offers to like give him a hand job, and then they notice that Omega isn't around. He's like, the hand job will have to wait. Where the fuck is the kid? And so
also, where's my rope?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, right. My rappelling line, which is actually just a rope. They figure out that she's going to go after the war chest. So Echo goes ahead. He's like, I'm going to go ahead since your leg's broken. You can just fucking limp after me, okay? So Omega rappels down to the container. And meanwhile, Hunter and Wrecker are like they're close to the Marauder, but they're being chased by clones. And there's this really funny thing. He's like, it should be around the other ridge. And Wrecker's like, you said that on the last ridge. And he's like, you're so fucking impatient, Wrecker. Jesus fucking Christ. So other clones find the container that Omega is in. Echo gets there first, but he like barely gets in before he's shot, and he has to seal the door. Omega has no idea that shots are being fired out. Her situational awareness, Chris, is so fucking bad. She's in there stuffing her backpack with fucking shiny stuff, and like people are getting shot right outside, right?
Yeah.
So Echo jumps in, he closes the door, and he's like, I don't know if you're listening to your fucking iPod, or I guess kids don't listen to iPods anymore. Like, we're in trouble. So Tech catches up, and like he takes out a bunch of clones, but he gets knocked out. And Wrecker and Tech make it back to the ship, and they lock on to where the container coordinates are, and they go to pick them up. So the container decides this is the perfect time to fall off the same cliff for the second time, right? So Omega loses her backpack full of pretty things, and Echo is like, hey, it's not important. And she's like, well, I know, like, you guys, I need some conflict in this fucking show, man. I know you guys don't want me here or something where, like,
you guys are doing this for me, and I don't want to be a burden all the time.
It's my fault
blah,
you
blah.
guys got divorced, like that kind of shit, right? So the old man shows up and helps unconscious Tech, and he's like, well, here's your fucking hand job. Thanks for the hard drive. So they're able to pull Omega and Echo up. He like rigs the rappelling line up to his speeder bike and somehow doesn't kill them in the process. Hunter and Wrecker show up with a ship, and like they pick them up. Old guy gives Omega the kaleidoscope, and he's like, here, have a fucking toy, kid. Go be a fucking kid. So on the ship, Echo tells Omega that he's like, look, yes, you are a huge fucking nuisance. Yes, I do not like being in the same area as you. Yes, you are so fucking annoying. But, and
yes, it is your fault that the Empire is shooting at all of us.
But let me also say that if we hadn't rescued you, we might still be working for the Empire. And putting up with your annoying ass is better than working for the Empire. So we're both going to have to do the best we can here and calm the fuck down, okay? And she's like, I think that was supposed to be inspirational, but I'll take it. Fine. So they fuck off and they're fine. Fucking Admiral Rampart shows up, who is like one of the only characters I remember from season 1, right?
Yep.
Which, by the way, when I was doing the editing for the recap video, I noticed that every time Admiral Rampart shows up in the in season 1, he's walking out of a shadow. Like yeah, every time he's like, or he's walking through a door. Every single time he's walking through a door, he's walking out of a shadow. So he shows up, with his fucking like boxy chin and chiseled jawline and shit. And he talks to Captain Wilco, and he's like, "So I'm here to fix a problem with your report." And he's like, "What's the problem with the report?" And he's like, "Clone Force 99 doesn't exist anymore. They died on Kamino. We fucking shot them. They're dead." And he's like, "I confirmed with my own eyes that they are indeed alive." And he's like, "Oh, well, that's gonna get me in trouble with Tarkin. So we're gonna send a fake report." And everything will be fine. And Wilco's like, "I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to falsify a report." And he's like, "Okay, that's perfectly understandable. I commend you for your honesty. Carry on." And the dude's like, "Really?" And he's like, "No, fuck that." And shoots him in the head. Fucking falls off the building. We're never going to see... Wilco's not going to be in episode 3 of The Bad Batch. So
what is Rampart's plan here?
Well,
like, even if you kill the captain... Every one of the clones on the planet knows that that Clone Force 99 was there.
He's gonna shoot them all in the head.
Everyone who saw the report knows that the Bad Batch was there.
He's gonna line all of them up.
What is your plan, my guy?
He's gonna line them all up in the same spot and shoot them in the head and just have them fall. It's like what every Imperial officer ever does. Like you do the thing that's gonna cover your ass from getting in trouble from the guy next up on the food chain, right?
Yeah.
And that's why the Imperials are so fucking stupid. Like that's why nothing works the way that it should, and everything. Like they're all buffoons and shit because they don't want to look bad to the guy that's their boss, you know. So, all right, that's gonna be at the end. Make sure you join us. We do this every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, 6:00 p.m. Central, we do a live show. We'd love to see you on the next one. We're doing Battlefront here right after. I'm doing Battlefront right after this, which is something we do a lot. I do a lot of Star Wars games on our channel, so make sure to check us out on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for the support. We love you guys, and